Hello, and welcome to this session on Unleashing Potential Gemini in the Google Classroom. My name is Kyle Klein. I am going to be your host today. You'll see down at the bottom, there is going to be a tiny URL that you're going to be able to keep for you. You're going to be able to access this presentation at a later time. You do want to make sure that it's tinyurl.com/gem in class. The G is capital, the C is capital. Otherwise, if you do a lowercase g, lowercase c, it's not going to work out so hot. So that is how you get access to this presentation. I am excited to go through this presentation because I learned about Gemini coming to Google Classroom last summer when I went to a conference called ISTE. It was down in San Antonio. It was when Google was unveiling a bunch of their upcoming releases, and I'd been using Gemini just by itself pretty regularly in the classroom or for my job and showing it to other teachers for about a year. So when that was going to be embedded right into Google Classroom, I was so excited. And I hope you share that same excitement with me. So let's get into our presentation here. So number one, like I said before, my name is Kyle Klein. I am the Director of Digital Learning at Twin Lakes School Corporation in Monticello, Indiana. There is more than corn in Indiana, just so you know. You can follow me on the Twitter/X at Mr. Klein_EdTech. I am a Google certified trainer. I'm also a Gemini certified educator. I took the test, passed with flying colors, so I was pretty excited about that. And then once again, there is your URL. My background, I've been in education. I just signed my paper today to say how many years I've been in education, and this is currently my 24th. So I spent the first 13 years in the secondary math classroom. I thought, what's a better way to get nerdy than to, instead of just teaching high school math, why don't you also throw in some technology? So while I was in the classroom, I really started getting more excited about how I can implement technology in my lessons to enhance student learning. So it offered me a couple of other opportunities. So now I am the current Director of Digital Learning, fancy word for a tech coach at Twin Lakes. I love all things AI. I love virtual reality, so VR. Part of my other job is 3D printing with students, co-planning with teachers. We do coding. We'll do some other activities. Love Google activities. Love using Magic School and Diffit, School AI, all those tools that can really be used to enhance a teacher's lesson. So let's get going here into Google. We will be going through, I'm going to go through here the beginnings, just some things about Gemini in Google Classroom, and then I'm going to transfer over into Gemini and do a little demonstration here as we get through this presentation. So a couple of things to know about Gemini. Number one, what is it? Well, it is your always-on collaborator. I like to call it, it is an AI assistant, but I like to call it my co-planner. I work with AI. I ask it questions. A lot of times I get into prompting with it. Sometimes I'm just not sure what I want for a prompt. So I will ask Gemini, hey, help me write a prompt for these items that I want to include. That way I can copy that back into a new chat in Gemini, and it's going to help me make something even better than what I originally was hoping for. Typically, it also just does a wonderful job of helping me think through different things throughout the day. When I was in the classroom, if I would have had Gemini back then, I am sure I would have probably reached more students. I would have had more time to do a lot of the differentiating, the scaffolding, sentence starters, all kinds of different ways to show students how to learn in their different methods and their different modalities and things. I've done a much better job than I did when I was in the classroom. So that is okay. I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm here to talk about now and the future. Prerequisites. So in order to have Gemini in Google Classroom, your Google admin has to open it and they have to allow it. So if it does not show up in Classroom for you over on the sidebar, your admin, your technology admin at your district has not turned it on. There's nothing wrong with asking them to turn it on. You are over 18, working with students. It's a great collaborator. The other thing is, like I said, teacher must be over 18 years old. That's very rare that you could ever find a teacher. We don't have many Doogie Housers in education these days. Okay, so when we talk about using Gemini, we want to think about what makes a successful prompt, what makes a successful output that we can get from AI. Google goes with the three C's: context, content, constraints. You always want to talk about, who is this for? Is it for your students in your classroom? Is it for working with your grade level teachers, your partners? Is it for working with a PLC, your admin, and instructional coach? Who is it for? Content, what's your focus? Okay. I always make sure, if I am writing a lesson plan or I'm trying to create something for a specific topic, I always include the standard. And the nice thing about the Indiana standard is, if we just put the number and we say we're a teacher in Indiana, a first grade teacher in Indiana, an eighth grade teacher, a biology teacher in Indiana, you always want to state that it's going to know what B.1.4 is in Indiana. However, if you just say, I want a lesson on mitosis, it doesn't know who it's for. Is it for the teacher? Is it for the students? Is it for a parent? Is it for an administrator? You need to give it that content. You need to focus it down onto that standard. Constraints, that's your third C. What do you want to get? How much of something do you want to get? If you just ask for a lesson plan, okay, well, lesson plans come in many different forms. Do you want objectives? And if you want objectives, how do you want them written? At our district, we write our we write our objectives not as students will be able to, not the SWABAT or whatever. We use we wills and I wills. So we want those statements as objectives. Provide examples, provide scaffolding. I want a hook for my lesson plan. I want to differentiation for students of various needs, whatever their levels are. I need a variety of teaching ways with students that might be speaking a different language. What are some visuals? How do I make this lesson, how do I make it work for my kinesthetic learners? All of these things that you have always dreamed about wanting and having, you can now do with AI. Okay, you don't have to worry about taking all the time out of your nights, out of your weekends. You can use AI. You can work it as your co-planner. You can work with it. So that way you make sure that you are bouncing ideas off of one another. It's like hanging out with your best friend, talking about, okay, I want to do this. Okay, you want to do that. I want to do this. You want to do that. Let's collaborate. Let's put this together. So 3 C's: context, content, constraints. What are some of the things that you can do with Gemini? Well, the nice thing is you can re-level text. Okay, we would love, in the perfect world, all of our students to be on level with reading, all of our students to be on level with their math, their social studies, their science. Unfortunately, we just don't necessarily have that. So you need to think, how can I differentiate for students in different with different levels? You can ask AI to do that. Okay, if you're teaching 6th grade reading, but you have some students that are at a 4th grade reading level, that's okay. You can ask AI to rewrite a passage at a 4th grade reading level. That way, those students can be a part of the conversation. They're going to be able to read the passage with more, with a better result. Okay, giving different and diverse examples. This is something I talked about in a class today, where I told him, I said, AI is great for reteaching a lesson, reteaching a topic. And if you're not real sure, you hear it from your teacher and you're like, I didn't really get it, or it's just something, I know they talked about this, didn't really stick, or maybe you got, half of the lesson, didn't get the other half. This is where students and teachers can use AI to reteach something. Ask for it in 3 different ways. Ask for it for a student that might be struggling with a topic. Ask for it to explain something in 3 or 4 different ways. Maybe one of those ways will stick for you or for the students. Support materials, use AI for creation. Okay, use Gemini for creation. You want to make sure that you use that. All right. There are so many amazing things you can create with AI just by typing in what you want. Use it for creating those support materials. Okay, another way that we could use AI is creating a tutor for each of our students. It'd be lovely if we could sit with all of our students individually throughout the day, work with them, help them through things, ask them questions. Unfortunately, we cannot multiply ourselves as an educator. So use AI as a tutor. Okay, if you're working with a small group over here, maybe this group on your station rotation is working with a chatbot and it's reviewing some of the concepts that they just learned. Maybe your chatbot is going to re-explain something. Maybe it's going to help students think through a problem and maybe prompt them with some sentence starters. It's however you set it up. It is a tutor for every student. Once those kids rotate around, then the new group's going to have the tutor. You're going to have a new group working with you. You don't have to worry too much about them getting grade level content on their own or from just a video. They're going to be interactive with it. It's way better than video. I know video is wonderful. It's nice to keep kids engaged sometimes, but sometimes they need engagement through interactions. All right, let's keep going here. Pro tips, okay, the do's and the don'ts. So when you are working with a Gemini, you want to make sure that you edit for voice. So I like to consider, make this a humorous explanation. Add these students' names to what you are creating. If you do word problems and they throw in the students' names, they'll be like looking around, they're like, oh my gosh, what? That's my name? Oh my gosh, they're talking about me. Get a little more engagement that way, okay? Drafting, use it for drafting. I kind of go with like the 80-20 rule where let AI do 80% of the heavy lifting, put the human element in there with that other 20%. Go in, whatever your results are, read through it. Don't just take it ad nauseum and hand it off to the students. Don't just write a recommendation letter for a student, reread it. Make sure you don't just hand off its first iteration to that student. Make sure you look through it. Add the human piece. Okay, you always need to add that human piece into your AI. All right, let it draft something for you. You might like some of it, you might not like all of it. There are some instances where you may be like, okay, this is gold, this is dynamite, I love it. Still take some time, go through, edit it. And always, 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 if you are doing research with AI, always double check your sources and resources. Can't tell you the amount of times that students, teachers, lawyers have gotten in trouble with quoting or crediting the incorrect sources. Just because AI gives it to you doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be correct. Be specific. The more specific you are at the beginning, the better your results are going to be in the end. Okay. Yes, you can have a bunch of different iterations with when you go into Gemini, when you go into any tool, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, anything like that. You can have a lot of different iterations. But if you want to get more bang for your buck at the beginning, be specific. When I first started writing prompts, I would just say, create a lesson plan on factoring. Okay, well, that's not great. Who's it for? Is it for students? Is it for a teacher? Is it for a parent? Is it for an administrator? You also want to say, well, what standards does this cover, right? What state do you live in? Because not all states have Indiana standards. Hate to break that to you. Include that information. Include characteristics of students in your class. So I have, some students that might be a grade below reading level. I have some students that might be speaking a different language. I have some students that would be better working if they were able to do some hands-on activities. All of these are things that you can put in your first prompt, and you don't have to keep going through different iterations and waiting for the AI to give it its output. The don'ts, I guess I kind of already talked about the first one. Okay, always review the content. Don't just take it for an answer. AI does not equal answer. Okay? It is not equal answer. AI is your co-planning partner. You don't just work with another teacher or another adult and they bring something new. You're like, oh yeah, looks perfect. Let's move on, right? That doesn't happen very often. Sometimes it does, but work with it, collaborate with AI, keep talking with it, keep working with it. And once again, don't forget your standards. Your standards are so important. I watch teachers that have been asking for lessons without time constraints, without considering their objectives. But the worst is when I see them not consider their standards. You don't have to write out the standards word for word. Just put whatever that number is. If you're not sure what it is, look it up. Type Indiana Standards, grade 6, math. Pull it up, find out what that little 6.rp.1 is, type it in there. Okay, you will be so much happier that you did. All right, let's keep going here. All right, top AI tools. So typically, most of the tools that are used here in Gemini, the ones that teachers like the most, is creating non-fictional informational text. Nonfiction informational text. Nonfiction informational texts are fabulous. Our students need fiction, but they also need that nonfiction. They need to be able to take that information, find out, okay, where did it come from? Is this believable? Do you think this is something that could happen? But also, this is researched information. This is informational. You need to be able to read that and understand it. You could generate audio lessons. This is newer. This is like a podcast style type of lesson. You can create a podcast within Gemini, share it with your students, your auditory learners. Maybe they hear things better. Now, when I watch Netflix, or something on Hulu, I always have the closed captions on because I can hear it, I can see it. All right, I'm a visual, I'm an auditory learner. I like to see them both. Same thing. I love listening to podcasts. Sometimes I can listen to those much better than I can read a book. Love it. A lot of teachers use AI for assessments, generating rubrics, quizzes, exit tickets with specific standards. I know this is a great entry point. I always talk about lesson planning, but also, for teachers, they're kind of unsure about AI. Well, have it create some assessments for you. You may not like the first iteration it gives you. You may have to be specific. I want multiple choice. I want 5 multiple choice. I want 2 true false. I want 3 short answer. I want 1 essay. Whatever you want, be specific. Have it create it. If you don't like it, just say, try again. Type it in. Try again. See what you can do. That's a great entry level. But once you start really getting with AI, you're going to find out the more things it can do. Generating rubrics. As a former math teacher, whenever we do projects, I hated creating a rubric. It had to be from my brain, and I had to create it and try to figure out how many points to give my students. Have it create a rubric that you can look through and be like, okay, this is pretty good. No, I'm going to change this. I'm going to change the points here. Have it do that for you. The other thing, choice boards. Yay! Creating choice boards is a tedious task because a lot of times you have to think, okay, do I have this? Do I have that? What about this? Can I try that? Have it create some choice boards. We're going to look at choice boards here in a little bit, but think about how you can use choice boards or some jigsaw activities. Ask it to create a station rotation model for you with 4 groups, 4 students in each group. We know that's not true. Sorry. How about 6 groups, 5 kids in each group, right? That's closer to numbers you might have, but have it create something like that. Look through the examples, see what it can help you and what it will do for you within your classroom. All right. So this is my favorite part. Let's get into the tools. So I need to get out of this presentation and I'm going to hop over here into Google. Let me move myself over here. So this is my Google Classroom. I just go to classroom.google.com where you can go up here into the waffle and you can click on Classroom, right? I have a few other options because I am an admin at our school, so you probably won't see these options right here. You won't see the admin tools. Let me minimize those. You're probably going to see more of these options right here. Home, calendar, resources, Gemini. This is what we're looking for. If you do not see Gemini here, your admin has not turned it on yet. Okay, you need to make sure you turn on your Gemini for Google Classroom. Pretty simple. They can find it. All right. So I'm going to click on Gemini. And once I get into Gemini, this gives me a whole lot of options. The other cool thing is it gives you some examples if you want to check out some examples. Lovely. Let me scroll up so you can see some. It has broken it down into different tasks. If I click on any of these buttons here, it's going to change the tools. I'm going to go to all here. These are all pre-created tools for you from Google. Down below, these are prompts that you could use that's going to create for you. Um, like I said before, when I first started working with Gemini, I had to prompt everything. I was not a very good prompter. This, if you feel like you're not a very good prompter, this will help you out. Okay. This creates the different prompts for you, creates the different activities for you. Just going to ask some questions to get through it. So let's go through some examples. First one I do is craft a compelling hook. So I'm going to click on craft a compelling hook. And I'm going to say, let's fill in some of these questions. So target grade is 4. I want to describe my lesson and my class. So I'm going to say rock, oops, sorry, formations of rock layers. And let's see, I am actually going to upload something from my drive. Select upload from drive, it actually gives me more options than just uploading from my drive. So I could find something that is on my Google Drive. So I'm gonna upload this file right here. But I could also upload something from my computer if I want to do that. All right. So I could go into browse and it can pull up whatever files are in my downloads right here. So I'm just gonna say fossils and rock layers worksheet. Sure. Download this puppy. This is what I want the AI to know about. Okay, I want to give it a little bit of information in advance. Now, what do I want to do with my compelling hook? I could spark curiosity. I could do thought-provoking questions. Actually, I think I want to do that. Or I could also do storytelling and role playing. Okay, what are different ways to get your students engaged in your lesson? So I'm going to have it craft a compelling hook. Let's see, it's going to generate, and notice that this will take not super long, but you're like, okay, it should be faster, faster. All right, let's keep going here. Right now we're at about 10 seconds, 11, 12 seconds. Okay, here are different hooks that you could use for your class. Okay, I have this one on sparking curiosity about the dirty jar, time in a bottle. Deepest is the oldest, so it tells me right here, spark curiosity, thought-provoking questions. All of these I can export straight into a doc. Export. Check. Yes, please. Here are my hooks. I can now choose what I want to do with these. I can look through here and I'm like, okay, my 80/20. Here's my 80/20. What can I do to make this actually work for my students? Okay, what can I do to make it work for me? I'm going to read through here. This one actually has you creating time in a bottle. All right, I'm going to need some materials. Maybe I don't want to use materials. Maybe I'm going to have other things that I can do where I don't have to bring a whole bunch of things in. A whiteboard or projector markers. Boom, I have that. I have that in my classroom. Okay. So crafting a compelling hook, that's a fun time. Let me go back here to Gemini. I'll say, yes, let's discard our changes. And let's build a choice board. So I'm going to click on building a choice board. I'm going to go to grade 3 and I'm going to say the Viking Age. And once again, I'm going to upload a PDF from our textbook. I'm going to use something I found on the internet. I'm going to use something that I have used in the past. I'm going to upload from my drive. So if I go into my drive, actually, I don't know if I saved this in my drive. So let me go to browsing once again. And where did it go? I think it is this one. Let's see if that's what I want. Okay, funny joke. That's not what I want. So I can actually easily remove this and I can upload something else. So I'm going to go into my drive and I'm going to find my file here. And what I have uploaded is I've uploaded a nice little summary, scope, and sequence from this Unit 6, The Viking Age. So this way it's going to help generate learning objectives from the resources I want to use. So let's go here. Let's have it generate some ideas. So here's my learning objectives. Students be able to identify I like, sure, let's go with generate. So this is now going to generate a choice board for me to provide to my students. The other neat thing I like is it creates a choice board kind of in some pretty colors. So look, all right, here we go. Journey to Scandinavia map and fact sheet, create a visual fact sheet, choose a character from the Norse myth. All of this can be edited. Write a 1 to 2 page interview script between a Viking Age reporter and a Viking person. Lots of different options here. So I'm going to add to my class, or I can export to docs. So I'm going to export to docs one more time. The nice thing is if I choose this and if I want to export to or add to a class, I can choose whatever class I want. So let's look here. We have our choice boards. Here we are. All of this is editable. So instead of a 1 to 2 page interview, I want a 1 to 2 paragraph. This is only for third graders. So let's go here. I can edit. Boom. Wonderful. Now, do I have to choose all these and use them? No, you do not. Let's go back over to here. If I want to add it to a class, I just click on Add to Class. Open up your Google Classroom. Here's my different classes. So if I put in my demo class, I can say what type of classwork. I'm going to say it's an assignment. I can confirm. It's going to open up the assignment page within Google Classroom. Notice here is my choice board. Okay, choice board, grade 3, the Viking Age. This is where students can access all of those choices. Let's put in the assignment, all your information. Ta-da! You're done. Love it. So simple, so fast. There is a cool thing here with creating an audio lesson. We kind of talked a little bit about the podcast option. This one I feel has a little bit of work to it, but it is still nice and engaging. So if I use that same content about the Viking Age, notice you can't, oh, I'm sorry. If I add content right here, I could add text, or you have the option to add a target grade and a topic. I wish you could upload here resources. Unfortunately, you can't, but it'll generate learning objectives. You can edit these learning objectives. So if they don't fit your learning objectives for that Viking Age that I have, I could go in here and edit these. Down below is where you can personalize it. So it's basically going to look like a conversation back and forth between two people. So I can choose different avatars. I can choose different voices for each of them, and then it's going to let me generate the audio lesson. And just so you can see what this looks like, it creates a little dialogue so students could read it back and forth. It's going to keep going. It's going to create all of these. Students could read this as a conversation. You can export it into, I believe it goes into slides as well. So you can export it if you like. The other neat thing is down below, it is generating your audio lesson. So once again, this is creating audio for your audio learners, those that need to hear the information a little bit differently. This just created a 7-minute podcast. Let's see what it sounds like. Oh, that's how it's giving the information about the teacher. I may want to change this since it's my voice, but okay, so it's going to go through this conversation for our students, and you're going to be able to share that and export it to your students. I can hit export, I can export to Drive, I can export to slides. If you export to Drive, that is what will give you your audio. If you export to slides, it just takes all of this conversation, puts it on a slide, multiple slides, whichever one you want. If you want them to read it, or if you want export to Drive, that's going to be your audio. Okay, pretty cool, but I think it still needs a little fixing. What I would love, honestly, is if when you export to slides, if you had the so Google, if you're watching, if it would have the conversation, but then it'd have like a little button the kids could click on, so it would read those on each slide for them. That would be a preference of mine, but that's okay. They didn't ask. That's not a big deal. All right, so let's go back over here. We saw some of the pre-created items. So up here, down below, all of these will open in, notice how it has a little arrow. This will open up into Gemini. So if you want to stay within Google Classroom, you can keep all of these options, okay? You can use these. It keeps you right here on the same tab within Google Classroom. If you want to use some of these other tools, it is going to open up over into Gemini. You'll see it's going to make another tab for me. So I want to go into, let's do DOK questions. Okay, I feel like I could have done a better job with having better DOK questions for my students when I was back in the classroom. So I want to create some DOK questions on a topic. All right. So notice how this opens up another tab. Here I am in Gemini, and it starts off with some questions for you. It already created the prompt. Okay. It says you're role in your task, expert academic content creator whose specific training on depths of knowledge. Notice it doesn't say you're a teacher, you're a student. It says your experience is on DOKs. Okay. Your task helped me create a set of questions aligned to each of the 4 DOK levels. You will guide me through the process by explaining the collaborative approach. Dun, 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 dun. Here it is. Okay. First, I'm going to ask you some questions. You'll be able to tailor your question set to your class. To start, tell me a little about how you plan to use these questions. Are they in-class discussion, maybe an assignment? This helps walk you through the process. It is like you are talking to someone else and they're asking you questions, helping you succeed and be able to create these. But it has to have context from you. Speaking of context, if you're in Gemini and you're not real familiar with Gemini, cool thing here is you can go right into this plus button and I can click on uploading files. Guess what? I have a file on second grade, understanding sums greater than 10. So I can do, oops, sorry, I should say grade 2. My bad. It's actually grade 2, not grade 3. I can go in here and it says, tell me a little about how you plan to use these questions. So I uploaded the content. I want them to create questions based on this content. I will use these questions for discussion and cold calling on my students during the introduction of the lesson. All right, so there we go. I'm going to hit this arrow, boom. It's going to start thinking. It's going to come up with probably another question to ask me. It is helping me work through things. This is the same thing you can do for your kids where you can assign a gem to them and they can work through these problems. It's going to keep asking them questions, right? Like a Socratic tutor. All right, thanks for sharing those lesson materials. It's clear is on decomposing numbers greater than 10. Since we're using this cold calling discussion, how many questions would you like for me to provide each of the 4 DOK levels? I'm going to say I would like 4 questions for DOK 1 and 2, and then 2 questions for DOK 3 and 4. All right, now, because it's second grade, DOK 4 questions are a little tougher because typically the DOK 4 questions are going to ask the kids to do something, to put something together, all kinds of fun stuff like that, right? So I got it. 4 questions for 1 and 2, 2 questions for 3 and 4. Is there anything else I should know? No, you are good. I'm just going to say, no, you are good to go. I like to have a conversation with it like it's my friend. I don't use text speech, though. I hate it when my own children send me responses or say things like LOL, WID. I don't need that. Just type it in. Okay, so then we go down here. Here's my DOK level 1. Here are my 4 questions. And look at this. When I click on this link, it shows where it got these questions from. Got it from my PDF that I uploaded. Can you do this without uploading a PDF? Yes, you can, but this is pretty wonderful like this. DOK level 2, I've got 4 questions. DOK 3, I have 2 questions. DOK 4, I have 2. Pedagogical approach, refinement. It gives me all kinds of great information. Even ask me, would you like to generate a list of sentence starters for these questions? Or would you like to adjust the difficulty of any level? I'm going to say, yes, I would like some sentence starters. Okay, so this is now going to create me some sentence starters that I can use. Lovely. It's going to come out here. Just amazing. Like, it's amazing that it comes up with so many great ideas in such a short amount of time that would take me, a little bit longer to come up with. I could possibly come up with some of these, but this gives me some wonderful options. Scaffolded academic language support. Amazing. All right. Now, what do I do with this? I want to use it, but it's on my computer screen, right? Well, since this is for you, what you can do is you can either copy the response and go over to a Google Doc and add it, or if I hit these 3 dots, I can export it to Docs. Boom. Okay, so it's now creating a document. Notice down here on the bottom, it's creating a document. Open up my Google Docs. Here are my questions. This is all editable because I'm now in a Google Doc. Here we go. I can edit these. These are just for me though. I'm going to print these off, put them in my pocket, walk around with them. That way, when we're talking about the different understanding, sums of numbers bigger than 10, I can ask these questions, right? I feel like I probably didn't do as good of a job doing this when I was in the classroom. So this tool would have been great for me because then I could check off, oh, okay, I need to ask a DOK2 question. I need to ask like a DOK3. What are some questions I can ask? They have it right here within Gemini, within Google Classroom. Okay, let's go back over here. I could do some other things. I can create these items, and it's wonderful, right? It's pretty amazing. So I'm not going to go over that, but there is one thing I want to do that I can do in Google Classroom. If I just go into my class and say, okay, those Gemini tools, those are great for me as a teacher, but I want to give the students a tool. I want to give them something they need a little more practice, right? They need a little more things to go through. So I'm going to go over here to classwork and I'm going to create an assignment. Right. I can do it from there, or I can also we're going to create a gem. So I could create it here, or I could also create it down here. I'm going to go into the assignment and I'm going to have my options here. So I'm going to say demo gem 2026. We're going to do that. I can type in my options. And down here, you'll notice that you have an option for gems. I can click on gem. This is where it has some previously created, or it has some that you can choose from. So some that are previously created, a study partner, give students a study partner. A quiz me tool has multiple choice questions to ask the kids. Brainstorm partner, real world connector. The other thing I could do is if I have gems for myself, over here, if I go back to my Gemini, underneath down here a little bit, if I have gems, these are different gems that I have created, okay, for my own use in school. I have an Oswald lesson planner. I have a 3D printing lesson planner, a grant writer, a PD session collaborator. I have all these different gems. Gems are useful for when you want to use something multiple times throughout the year, but you don't want to have to type the instructions every single time. So let me go back over here. So if I selected existing, it would pop up, any of these gems. There's my PD session creator, Oswald lesson planner. I don't want to do that. I'm going to say create new, study partner. Let's create a study partner. This is only for which class? Well, this is going to be this class, my demo, gym assignment. I can put it with other assignments if I want other classes here. Let's move this over. I'm going to create my gem, right, like so. Hit creating, and it's going to open up Gemini again, and it's going to walk me through the process of what I want to do. So I want to create a tool for my students where they're going to, oh boy, I tell you what, we're going to review multiplication facts for numbers 1 through 10. Okay. Description, I can describe what my gem is going to do. Look at it over here. Wonderful. Instructions. So I can put my description in. What do I want to do in my instructions? Create a 10 question quiz, or I can even do flashcards. Let's do 10. I'm going to say create 20 flashcards for my students to use to review multiplying numbers 1 through 10. Okay, now if I click on this is going to help me rewrite this. I can make this better. I'm going to run out of time. I just want to get this started so you can see it. So I can hit update. This is now going to create my gem. I can go in here. I can start my chat, or I can share it. Did you see the share button? I can go in here. I should have actually put some more information here because it should have prompted my students with what numbers do you want to use, or I can just start right into it. Anyway, what I can do is now with my gem, I have my gem right here. Students are going to be able to use my gem once I assign it to them. This is going to help my students review some facts. I could create a study buddy where it's going to help them go through, starting writing a paper, or it can help them with what are the different steps of mitosis and meiosis. I can do all of that by using a gem and assigning it to my students. So I know that's a lot, went through quite a bit. Honestly, get in here, get into Gemini, learn about the different things you can do. There are some resources on this slide where you can go in. Casey Bell has a wonderful cheat sheet about using Gemini. It is linked here. You can use that. Pull up that cheat sheet, check it out. Eric Kurtz has actually created like 70 plus gems that you could use for your classroom, for you or for your students. Click on the EduGems link, go to his website. And then John Sowalsh, also from the Chromebook Classroom, he has got a great book, great blog. He has a lot of great information about Gemini in the classroom, Google Classroom also. So I hope this helped you out. I hope there are some ideas that might be percolating in your brain. I hope there were some things that you can use. You're going to be able to check out where, start small, start with something you're familiar with, that you're comfortable with, make something for yourself, and then don't just keep it for yourself though. Always extend, keep pushing yourself, push your limits, get out of your comfort zone, make a gem for your kids. Okay. Let them try that out. Good luck. I wish you the best. I have a couple emails here. Don't forget the URL, tinyurl.com/capital G EMIN, capital C LASS. Get these resources, check them out. Good luck with AI. If you ever have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks so much.